Hello, it's the Brian Hornback Experience, episode 119. It's going to be pretty quick, just a couple of housekeeping things, and I also want to talk about some stats for the podcast. But episode 118, I told you about the Knox County Republican Party reorganization. If you want to participate, there's a registration. I told you to go to TennesseeGOP.org. You can still do that. Those of you that have done that, it's fine. However, the Contest and Credentials Committee has set up they've actually set up an Eventbrite registration. So they want people to do that. So I've included both links on the Brian Hornback Experience episode 118 story that's on brianhornback.com, and I'm going to include it going forward. Contest and Credentials Committee may not like that. That's the way it is. So that kind of cleared that up. I will, as always, share that with you because that's what I do. I like to get information out. So we'll be talking about that more, but I really want to talk about the podcast. I've been looking at some stats today. I've been off the last couple of days, and so I've been able to sit here at the Brian Hornback compound and look at some stats. So the podcast, the Brian Hornback Experience, which started out as the Brian Hornback Podcast, then it became the Brian Hornback 30 for just a small amount of time, then became the Brian Hornback Experience. Actually began, the first actual podcast was recorded on November 7th of 2020. And within those 2 months of 2020, recorded 13 podcasts. And then the first podcast in 21, the first podcast in 21, we was on January the 5th of 21. And we did 38 podcasts in the year of 21. And then the first podcast in 22 last year, was recorded on January the 2nd, and we recorded 63 podcasts in the year of 2022. So this year we're up to 3. We did 117, 118, and now this is 119. So off to a pretty good start with the Brian Hornback Experience. Going to have a lot more guests and those type things going on for you. But I want to talk about the real stats. And that is the geolocations, where people are listening from. 96% of the people that listen to the Brian Hornback Experience are from the United States. And that says no surprise. 3% are from Germany. That was probably a surprise. The remainder of the 1% come from the countries of Russia, France, Canada, Austria, the Netherlands, and the Czech Republic. The devices that people, or the apps that people are using to listen to the Brian Hornback Experience, 19.4% of that is from Apple Podcast. 13.7% are from Spotify. 3.6% are from the World Wide Web. 2.2% is from Pocket Cast. 2.2% is from Google Podcast. 2.2% is where we actually produce and host this podcast, which is on Anchor FM, which actually is now tied to Spotify, so that number will probably increase on Spotify. And then other devices, other apps is 56.8%. Got no idea what those apps are. As far as devices that people are listening to the Brian Hornback Experience on, 30.2% of you are Apple people. I'm an Apple guy. 5.8% of you are Android. I know you Android people. You love your Android. I know you do, but you're only 5.8% of the people that listen to the Brian Hornback Experience. 2.2% of you are from Window World. Another 2.2% of you are from the web. And then 59.7% of you are from other. And I don't know what in the crap other is. But that's the stats. So wanted to kind of clear up and let you know that there are 2 different locations. That's Dolce wanting to be heard. There's 2 different locations that you can register for the Knox County Republican Party reorganization. It's going to be held on February the 18th. At Crown College of the Bible out in Powell. The Contest Credentials Committee prefers that you do the Eventbrite registration. But because the state party started for all other 95 counties doing that a little bit sooner than Knox County did, then that has the option. The Contest Credentials Committee said they didn't feel like that the party could necessarily support the size of the Knox County party. That's their opinion. Everybody's got one. So anyway, if you do sign up on the state party website, you'll still be covered. If you sign up on the Eventbrite, you'll still be covered. So if you want to participate, remember that you have to have voted in 3 out of the 4 last state and federal primaries. I mentioned on episode 118 about my friend Dave Oatney up in Jefferson County, who, by the way, congratulations to Dave. If you're watching this, we are Facebook friends, so I might tag you on the Facebook thing here. But he was elected assistant treasurer for the Jefferson County Republican Party. They had their meeting about a week ago. But here's what he says, and he sums it up rather well. It's that time again for the Jefferson County Republican Party biannual mass meeting for the purpose of party reorganization and election of officers. Okay, the position of chairman must be nominated in advance of the day of the convention. That's 1 week before. This is because of the current state bylaws. That's true. All other officers may be nominated from the floor. In order to vote as a part of the county convention, the Credentials Committee will check to see that people entering the mass meeting wishing to vote to be nominated for an office will have voted in 3 out of the last 4 Republican primaries. Again, that's Tennessee State Republican Party bylaws. Again, that's state and federal primaries only. All persons who have voted in 3 of the last 4 Republican primaries are welcome to vote or be nominated. All Jefferson County Republicans are invited to attend. So again, as my buddy Dave Oatney said, you have to have voted in 3 of the last 4 state or federal Republican primaries. Let's go back. That's August of 2022. That's August of 2020. That's March of 2020. And that's August of 2018. If you voted in 3 of those 4, you can come participate. And we invite you to be there. We invite all Republicans to come participate or come watch. But if you want to vote, if you want to participate, you need to have voted in 3 of those 4 state and federal primaries. State of Tennessee, okay? Keep that in mind. The state bylaws do not allow your voting record from other states. We've had that issue from the state executive committee where a gentleman ran as a write-in candidate and he wanted to use his Texas voting record. So far, the state bylaws have not been adjusted to that. I'm sure that as the state executive committee continues to work on, as we've continued to work since I've been on the state executive committee since August of 21, we've tweaked it at least twice that I'm aware of. So I'm sure we'll continue to tweak it again. But that is how you participate if you want to participate in helping select our officers. Chairman, vice chair has to be a member of the opposite sex of the chair. So if we elect a man, has to be a woman. If we elect a woman, has to be a man that's vice chair. Treasurer, assistant treasurer, and secretary. Those are the positions that will be elected in the mass convention. So I hope this clears everything up. Again, Knox County Republican Party Contest and Credentials Committee prefers that you register via Eventbrite. You do have an option to register on the TennesseeGOP.org website. Roger Kane, former state representative, is the chairman of the Contest and Credentials Committee, along with, let me get that list for you. We're going to take just a quick break here. Dolce's he's wanting something. I don't know what he wants, but anyway, he's wanting something. So that will be Roger Kane is the chair of the Contest Credentials Committee. Lana Smith, who served with me as a state executive committee woman in District 6 for about a year. She's on that Contest Credentials Committee. She's no longer on the state executive committee. Jane Chedester took her place in District 6. Manuela, and I can't ever say her last name, Steve Weiner, and Kevin Hill. Those are the members of the Contest Credentials Committee. Reach out to any current office holder or anybody in the Republican Party. We can give you those email addresses for the Contest Credentials Committee if you've got questions. Otherwise, thanks for this short episode 119, and y'all have a great day. Talk to you soon.